Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, October 12th from the San Antonio Express News. My name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect sunny skies and a high of 93 degrees in San Antonio today. The 23rd District is a perennial swing district stretching from San Antonio to El Paso. This year's race is sure to be close, and candidates Gina Ortiz Jones and Tony Gonzales faced off in Uvalde for the first time last week. If you didn't catch the debate, don't worry. We have a recap at expressnews.com or at the link at the episode's description. Around 35 police officers and firefighters gathered Saturday and Sunday for a blood drive after the blood supply in South Texas dropped to a critical low. Last year in October, the Blood and Tissue Center hosted around 220 blood drives. This year, the center anticipates it will have around 80 or 90 drives, which amounts to 3,661 fewer donations. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. The green light issued by the Metropolitan Health District last week did nothing to change the scattershot differences in the pace and scale of school reopenings in Bexar County. Some public school districts already had returned more students to classrooms than health officials recommended. Others have set their own tougher thresholds for coronavirus transmission in the community that will keep the return much more gradual. The mostly large percentages of parents who remain unconvinced that classroom instruction can be done safely also varies from district to district, but some officials report a loosening of that fear in surveys taken after the school year began, perhaps due to steady improvement in local pandemic statistics since August. We have a closer look at what's happening at a few San Antonio area districts at the link in this episode's description. San Antonio Express News photographers were everywhere last month, covering everything from crime to the ongoing effects of the coronavirus pandemic. Our collection of the best photos of September includes some of the ways life returned to normal. Think back to school and high school football. But there are also reminders of the vast issues facing our city and our country in a year of unprecedented change. Check out the incredible virtual essay at the link in this episode's description. As the coronavirus was infecting more than 1,000 San Antonians per day this summer, City Councilwoman Adriana Rocha Garcia revealed how it had devastated her own family. In an August City Council meeting, Garcia said, "I want to start off by sharing a number that has been significant to me during this time, the number 6. 6 of my family members have died as a result of COVID-19. Her 6 relatives died in a span of 6 weeks. One more has died since August. Her closest uncle, who lived in Coahuila, Mexico." Sylvia Foster Frau explores how Garcia's family underscores the virus's disproportionate impact on Latinos and the poor. San Antonians will begin casting votes in person Tuesday on Mayor Ron Nirenberg's $154 million plan to put those who lost their jobs because of the coronavirus pandemic back to work. But details about how the money will be spent aren't fully known. Nirenberg wants to use a 1/8 cent sales tax to help 40,000 residents get training for higher-paying jobs or college degrees over 4 years starting in September 2021. In the 3 months since Nirenberg embarked on the push, city officials have figured out some markers, such as who would benefit from the program, how many participants they expect to stick it out and complete their training or degree, and what industries would employ those graduates. Joshua Fechter has the latest on the proposal and what still hasn't been solidified. To keep our readers up to date on the path of COVID-19, the Express News has built a dashboard of interactive graphics showing the spread of the virus in the San Antonio area, in Texas as a whole, and across the United States. We've also created an interactive map of San Antonio for COVID-19 testing sites that don't require a doctor's referral. You can find a link to the dashboard and the interactive map in this episode's description. Also, be sure to check out other Express News podcasts such as Puro Politics, In Depth, and the Express News Editorial Board. You can find links to those podcasts in this episode's description. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside your Express News subscription. If San Antonio pet stores want to sell dogs and cats, they only would be allowed to provide animals from animal control agencies or rescue organizations if proposed changes to the city codes are approved by the city council. A few hundred conservative activists and Republican leaders protested outside Governor's Mansion on Saturday, calling on Governor Greg Abbott to end social restrictions meant to curb the spread of the coronavirus. Jose Rodriguez Chucuan, a former wrestler known professionally as Alberto del Rio, has been accused of sexually assaulting a woman in May and holding her against her will. His was among the 250 felony indictments handed up last week by 2 Bexar County grand juries. In opposing commentaries regarding the future of the Alamo Plan, Councilman Robert Trevino and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick argue over what story or stories the San Antonio landmark should tell and what should be done next. To make its recommendations in the race for U.S. President, the Express News Editorial Board dug into 5 key issues of the 2020 presidential race. You can read more about their methodology and those topics at the link in this episode's description. CPS Energy customers on average experienced a total of 154 minutes, just over 2.5 hours, without power in all of 2019, according to the Energy Department. We have a breakdown on how that compares to other consumers in Texas and around the country at the link in this episode's description. George Green, CEO and Artistic Director at the Public Theater of San Antonio, has been placed on a leave of absence in the wake of a series of allegations about his management of the theater posted to social media in recent days. Representatives from the city, nonprofits, and environmental groups hosted a symbolic tree planting event at the headwaters of San Antonio River to coincide with a month of environmental activities, tree adoptions, and plantings leading up to Texas Arbor Day on November 6th. A longtime leader of the South San Antonio Independent School District Board of Trustees is running for re-election unopposed, while also pursuing a spot on the Alamo College's district's board. A San Antonio company is partnering with the military and SpaceX to move cargo anywhere in the world in an hour using a commercial spacecraft, including vertical landing rockets built in Texas. The Express News Editorial Board writes, as the pandemic continues to evolve in Bexar County, local officials are making some good calls. Find out which 2 at the link in this episode's description. This week in history, on October 18, 1909, President William Howard Taft made his first public appearance in San Antonio to massive crowds both at Alamo Plaza, Fort Sam Houston, and the St. Anthony Hotel. Much of the front page of the San Antonio Light was filled with news about Taft's visit, including the declaration of Taft Day, which allowed businesses and city government offices to close. Every time the phone rings, a life can change. Rachel Raley believes this to be true, especially in a baseball family, because she's experienced it more than once. And she's learned not to dismiss any area code as a potential seismic origin. Over the past decade, she's had her world flipped by calls from Chicago and Cincinnati, from the Dominican Republic and South Korea, and then finally from closer to home than she'd ever imagined. Now, somehow, she's right where she wanted to be all along. And when she turns on the television, sits next to her 3 little girls, and watches her husband wearing a Houston Astros uniform on a pitcher's mound half a continent away, she admits that the whole thing still seems a little surreal. Mike Finger has the story of a Uvalde native's winding journey to the 2020 MLB playoffs. On this week's 52 Weeks of Pizza, Little Italy Restaurant and Pizzeria serves a righteous Sicilian-style pizza with a mountain of toppings. You can find the full review in this episode's description. Condé Nast Traveler recently ranked 2 San Antonio hotels in the top 10 of its Top 20 Hotels in Texas ranking. Paul Stevens offers tips on how to use silicone muffin pan in ways beyond baking, like freezing stock, ice cubes, and organizing. A controversial call helped end San Antonio FC's season in the first round of the USL Championship playoffs. Texas A&M upset Florida, UTSA kept it close against BYU, and the Texas-Oklahoma rivalry game in Dallas went into a fourth overtime. You can find links to all of the college football action in this episode's description. And that's all for today. This was your Express Briefing for Monday, October 12th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful start to the week, everyone.